Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the HCAM 2023 Contested Races Candidates Debates. I'm HCAM News Director Tom Nappy, and I will be the moderator for tonight's debate. This evening, we will hear from three candidates running for the two open three-year school committee seats. The school committee is the one contested race in this year's town election. Our panelists this evening include Peter Thomas, Editor-in-Chief of HopNews.com, and myself, Tom Nappy. The candidates for school committee include Ashley Fogg, Adam Monroe, and Suzanne Stevenson. Our format for these debates is simple. Peter and I will alternate asking each candidate questions, and they will have up to 1 minute to respond. If you hear the bell, you have 10 seconds remaining. If a candidate has a follow-up response to another candidate, they can state they would like to make an additional comment. The moderator will cue them, and the candidate will have 30 seconds for the comment. A panelist member may ask a follow-up question, and the candidate will have up to 1 minute to respond. Following the question and answers, each candidate will have up to 2 minutes each for a closing statement. So let's begin. All right, the first question is, what is the most important qualification for a school committee member? Give an example that shows you possess this quality and how it will impact your effectiveness on the board. Ashley, you can answer first.
I think the most important qualification that I possess as a school committee member is having kids in the school system. I will have this fall 3 children enrolled in Hopkinton Public Schools. I think it gives me real-time experience about what the policies the school committee are putting into place. Those things affect to the kids in my house, and so I have a real impact with that. I also think leadership is important, and listening and understanding and being detail-oriented. I think teamwork's important too. There'll be 5 of us sitting on a school committee, and I think it's important that we all work together, respect each other, and find ways to ask those hard questions, but also at the end of the day, come together. The Mass General Laws, Chapter 7137, breaks down the 3 responsibilities of the school committee, and they're the power. Oh, I'm really short. Just in closing, that I think the most relevant and important requisite for a school committee member is policies, and I think because I have elementary age kids, I would be uniquely qualified to make those decisions.
All right, terrific, thank you. Susan, same question. What is the most important qualification for a school committee member? Give an example that shows you possess this quality and how it will impact your effectiveness on the board. You may begin.
I think one of the most important qualities in a school director school committee member, must be their broad knowledge of education. It also must be the ability to work collegially. And to enter any situation with the outlook that all things can be fixed, interacted, so to speak, in a generous mood. I think of particularly one instance that I had a direct part in. My previous district where I worked had created a new building. They now had the staff from 2 buildings to spread to 3 buildings. As a member of the teacher's education, it fell to me to kind of negotiate how that was going to happen. And of course, in any association, you have seniority. And I received great praise from both the school district and my fellow colleagues in the ability that I had in making that seamless.
All right, terrific, thank you. Adam, same question. What is the most important qualification for a school committee member? Give an example that shows you possess this quality and how it will impact your effectiveness on the board.
Sure, thank you for the question. I think that there are actually three interconnected points that speak to my ability to be on the board. One, possess a proven track record with leadership, proven track record with compassion, and a proven track record for analysis. So breaking that down a little bit, leadership. I've been in several leadership positions, currently at the college level in leadership positions. I've been in positions in different committees throughout the town. Compassion and understanding for what are the issues that our families and children face here in Hopkinton today and in the future. And then analysis. So we can understand, we can hear all these things, but if we don't get to the root cause of these problems and analyze the problems and come up with creative solutions, then we're doing a disservice. So those are the three things that I think are strong: leadership, compassion, and analysis.
Terrific. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to the next question.
Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
I'd like to have an opportunity to hear what Ashley wanted to say about 7137.
Please go through the moderator. What would you like to?
Oh, I was checking to see if I had the right number. I'd like to hear what Ashley wanted to finish saying about, I think it was 7137, the responsibilities of school director.
Okay, Ashley, would you like to respond?
Sure. So the Mass General laws set forth what the school committees are responsible for the state of in Massachusetts, and the whole thing is Part 1, Title 12, Chapter 7, Section 37, and it breaks down the three responsibilities of the school committee. The three of them are the power to select and terminate the superintendent, review and approve budgets, and establish educational goals and policies for the school. And what I was going to speak about was that our superintendent, I believe 2 years ago, signed a 5-year contract, and therefore, during my tenure, I most likely will not be faced with hiring a new superintendent, and we just hired a new assistant superintendent. The second one is to review and approve budgets, and we have a budget director, and I would take lead on that. I'm very organized and detail-oriented, a fast learner, and works well under pressure, and I think I would make sound decisions regarding the budget. But the third one, which I highlighted, I think is the most relevant and important requisite as a school committee member, and that's the control to review and make policy for Hopkins Public Schools, and what we will all mostly be focused on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we ready to move on? Okay, next question. What would you like to accomplish if elected to the school committee, and what skill sets do you bring to the table? Susan, you may answer first.
I think one of the largest problems facing the students themselves derives from social media. I am aware that there have been several students who have been upset to the point that they have taken their own lives. When this happens in a school community, it destroys the whole community. I believe that an increased work in helping students integrate within a community and recognize what within a child needs some help. I was particularly helpful in the creation and integration of a student assistance program that the state of Pennsylvania mandated be used in each school, where people could just drop a note in a box and say, I think Sally's going into the bathroom, and doing things that are not right. It was then staffed by a group of teachers and guidance counselors, and we tried to check behaviors that would impede the student.
Okay. Adam, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I would like to follow up on that. Thank you for your answer, Susan. On the social media, what constructive programs would you put in place? For example, would you consider limiting social media in some way?
I don't know, as any of us, limiting social media starts with the parent, first and foremost. However, there's a great deal of bullying done on social media. I don't know if the school can limit social media. What it can do, and what I think needs to be looked at, are those things which social media now replaces the bully in the hallway. And therefore, I think the schools need to be on the lookout for the signals that that child is floundering, just as you would, a lifeguard knows the signals of a person who's having trouble in the water. Each and every adult in the school, along with their classmates, needs to really become aware so that we don't lose any more children.
Okay, thank you. All right, same question for Adam. What would you like to accomplish if elected to the school committee, and what skill sets do you bring to the table?
Sure, and this kind of piggybacks onto what Susan was mentioning too. So I think I bring a unique skill set in that, you know, in my day job, one of the things that I do is I work as a behavioral health nurse. So I see far too often the implications and sometimes tragic outcomes that come from mental health issues with children. I've seen children that will self-harm. You know, there's something just tragic about it. It breaks my heart to just think that this is something that potentially could have been avoided if somebody had just known, somebody had just recognized. The signs are all there. They're around us all the time. You know, and so programs, to implement programs that will educate families, educate faculty, educate administrators, educate the public in those subtle little signs that we can watch out for that will help to save the lives of our children.
All right, terrific, thank you. All right, Ashley, same question. What would you like to accomplish if elected to the school committee, and what skill sets do you bring to the table? You may begin.
So in regards to my skill sets, I come from a legal background. I worked as a paralegal for many years. I was actually admitted into law school, but I decided not to go because it was the best decision for my family, for me to stay home and take care of my small children. But I have many skills through my career and subsequently raising my kids that equip me well for the position. Through my legal skills, I have good negotiating skills, which will help me with budgets and negotiating with teachers' unions. I'm organized, I'm patient, I'm creative problem solving, and I work well under pressure. And I also work well as a teammate. I work currently with the PTO executive board, and we work as a team to do what's best. And I work with a co-coordinator as well. What I would like to accomplish is I would like to stand in the gap and be the independent thinker on the school committee. I would like to not be backed by a political party. I would like and to listen to both sides, left, right, and just really listen to all the stakeholders and make informed and common sense decisions when it regards to our kids.
I'd like to respond.
Sure.
Simply because I am a Democrat does not mean the Democrats tell me what to do, what to say, what to think. It's a political allegiance. I like to joke that I'm Irish and we're Catholic, and Irish Catholic Democrat has always been my running joke. I would never allow anyone, and I feel sure too that Adam would never allow any political party to tell us what to think, because our job is to see what is best for the children, our most precious commodity.
Okay.
I would also like to respond to that statement as well.
Can I respond as well after he does?
Sure.
Thank you.
Adam, you can go first.
Sure. First and foremost, I mean, I truly find it kind of appalling that we're talking partisan politics here when we're talking about our children. I think if you were to go down the street and poll any number of people, you know what? A child in a school does not affiliate with a political party. We're here to support our children, regardless of we're a Democrat, we're an independent, we're a Republican. That clearly should not ever be part of the process.
Okay. Ashley, you may respond.
So I guess my question, if it doesn't matter, then why are they enrolled in the Democratic Committee? Why are their campaigns pushed by them? Why are they, if you donate to their campaign, you're going through the Hopkinton Democrats page. Their signs match each other, and they're being put out by the Democratic Committee. I am putting every single sign that I have out by myself, and I am running my campaign through my living room. I'm not getting any support from any political party, left or right. So to say that it has no place, I completely agree with Adam, but you to find their candidacy statements, to find their signs, to find anything, it is all through the Hopkinton Democrat Party. So if it doesn't matter, why are they affiliated with that?
Can I respond?
No. We're going to move on.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. This question goes first to Adam. Adam, this is going to go to all three of you, but to Adam first, are there any changes to education that you feel are needed in Hopkinton today? And if so, what are they and why?
Sure. It's a fantastic, timely question. I think that curricula changes need to be developed where, we have more of a focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion throughout our curriculum. As a college educator, that's one of the things that I need to ensure when I submit a curriculum that my syllabus clearly can point to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Those factors need to be there. And at the college, we actually have a graduation competency with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's what I think, it starts, our marathon motto, if it all starts here, truly that those students that are going to go on for further education, it does truly all start at this table.
Ashley, same question to you. Thank you, Adam. Same question to you, Ashley. Are there any changes to the education that you feel are needed in Hopkinton? If so, what are they and why?
So I certainly think the special education challenges that were highlighted this past winter are worth taking a look at. I do think that the school committee is on the right path in bridging that relationship with CPAC, and I commend CPAC for their advocacy for those special education learners and the other community members that stood up and advocated for them. I think that should really be looked at. I think as the growth population expands, we're going to have a need for more special education teachers. We're going to have a higher demand for special education students. And I think that's something that shouldn't be ignored and really should be looked at. I also think diversity, along with what Adam has said about diversity, I think diversity, equity, and inclusion is also something that should be looked at our school. Our diversity has changed, especially in the last 10 years. And I think it's good. I think diversity is a wonderful gift for our students, and they're able to learn and grow together. And the world is diverse, and I think having a diverse population in our school better equips our children for their life outside of Hopkinton.
Thank you. Susan, are there any changes to education that you feel are needed in Hopkinton? If so, what are they and why?
I was most impressed last night when I was listening to Dr. Kavanaugh explaining the intricacies of many of the programs. I found them to be extraordinarily progressive and definitely taking into account very much many of the specific problems students would have and getting them up to where they needed to be. I also recognize that there are problems that the vast majority of the administrators, teachers, anyone, particularly even in the world, that we're dealing with at this point in time that we never thought we would need to deal with. For instance, transgender, non-binary. Those are things 50 years ago, 20 years ago, were not on the table to be discussed in impact education.
Thank you. Moving on, this is going to all three of you. First to Ashley. How important is it that all Hopkinton schools are built in the same area of town?
I think it would be really convenient for parents. I know that trying to do the 2-3 school shuffle in the morning when they all begin at the same time is really hard, and especially with traffic. Everybody knows about traffic in the town. Trying to get from Elmwoods to Hopkins when they both start at the same time is really difficult. I think it's beneficial probably for administrators to be able to be closer to other administrators. So yeah, I think it's a great idea to put all our schools together.
Next to you, Susan, how important is it that all Hopkinton schools are built in the same area of town?
The traffic is a problem. One of the benefits of having that is something that I've seen occur before. As I mentioned, we had a 3-building campus, which allowed rooms to be utilized in a much better way. The middle school and the high school are very close together, which allows a student who might be in the 8th grade able and is highly accelerated in math go to the next. Also giving the enrollment increases. Perhaps at some time there may be vacant rooms in other schools where programs could be shifted. And when they're all in the same area, it makes that shifting a little bit easier.
Thank you. Adam, how important is it that all the schools are built in the same area of town?
So I feel that the proximity of the schools together is an important issue. If we're talking about collaborating and we're talking about sharing resources and identifying those opportunities to improve the learning experience for the child, having those resources readily available or within close proximity, I think it just makes sense. That has to be tempered, however, with what are the other impacts of clustering the schools together? What are the negative impacts of that going to be? So I think, I would be curious to see more information about all the impacts, positive and negative.
Thank you.
Can I ask her a question?
Sure.
The moderator? I'd like to hear what Adam thinks are the negatives of putting the schools together.
Adam, would you like to respond?
Sure. I think that there's a few negatives, and I heard both candidates mention traffic. It is very difficult to get around in the morning. There's some challenges where coordinating the schedules between the different facilities. To Susan's point, about using underutilized space in a different building. How do we make that happen? What are the logistics of that to make that happen? So again, I think that more of a study would need to be done on that to see if that is the best solution.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. Susan, in your candidate statement, you write, quote, "I am opposed to censorship and to political interference in school curricula. While this may not be a problem currently in Massachusetts, we need to be watchful of the situation on the national level." Can you explain further what is meant by this statement?
When we watch the news, we see things coming into curriculum or being removed curriculum, not based on whether it's a good educational decision, whether it's good for the student, if it will be helpful for the student in the future. I believe many of those things that are being generated are purely political. Politics has no place in a classroom. Qualified educators, certified, trained, studied, sit and make these decisions, and just as we trust a doctor to make the correct diagnosis and present a remedy, so too education must be. I am just personally sitting back and watching that and a little concerned about it. I don't know as much of that will interfere with Massachusetts.
Okay.
Adam, in addition to running for school committee, you are also on the board of assessors?
Correct.
And serving on 2 board positions is a big time commitment. How do you plan to prioritize the board of assessors with your school committee position if you are elected?
Sure, thank you. So yes, I'm a firm believer that if you love what you do, then it's never work. I've already discussed a lot of this with my family, the logistics of the meetings, the time commitment that it's going to take to this. I've really considered what my work-life balance is going to be, and my family and my friends and really my community at large has been very supportive of that. So again, I love being engaged, and teaching and education is my passion. So it's really, for me, it's never work.
All right. Ashley, in your candidate statement, you write, quote, "I think the school committee works best when we have different points of view. We should have the willingness to ask the hard questions, but also communicate and listen with respect while working towards the common goal of doing what is best for our students and families." Can you please explain further what is meant by this statement?
Sure. I think I'm ready for the rebuttals. But I think that I think as Susan highlighted in Meet the Candidates, that most of the sitting school committee members are registered Democrats, other than Amanda. Actually, Amanda is unenrolled as currently that I know. But and I think that it's good when we all come from different points of view and we all different kinds of upbringing and backgrounds, and can bring different things to the table. I think we learn off of each other. I have friends in this community that don't always agree with me on certain topics, but I'm able to have conversations with them and be able to talk and learn and grow from each other. So I think it's important that it's a well-rounded school committee, that it's a school committee that has differing points of view. And I don't think political affiliations should be at the school committee. As I said in Meet the Candidates, we're one of only 8 communities that allows political affiliation in municipal elections. And so it really shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, and so now we have already touched on this topic. I think we can move on. Peter?
Yes, so let me set the stage for this question. I realize that the school committee has no power or influence over the question that I'm about to ask.
Okay.
This is more of our take or our understanding of what your vision for Hopkinton is.
Okay.
So the question is, and we'll go to Adam first, what do you think the town should do with the former center school?
Interesting question. Well, let me first back up and say the center school has been a part of my family intricately for several decades. My wife went to grade school there. My son went to grade school there. In fact, the same classroom as my wife. You know, I think that there's opportunity to use that space in a multiple applications, and again, I would like to see what are the proposals for that before just I wouldn't want to commit just a knee-jerk reaction. I'd want to see the data because I'm a very big data-driven person, so that's where I would stand on that.
Ashley, what do you think the town should do with the center school?
Yeah, so like Adam, I actually attended center school, kindergarten through grade 2, and it was a really cool experience. And my oldest actually missed attending center by 1 year. He was the entering kindergarten class for Marathon, and I was actually kind of excited about Marathon, but I was also kind of sad that he wouldn't get to experience center school like I did. I think center school, while I agree with Adam that I think studies need to be done and it needs to be looked logistically if it could work, but I think our town is in really strong need for a community center, community hangout for our teenage kids. We often see, even on early release days, we see kids on the common, we see them walking around CVS, we see them through the town, and I think they don't really have too much where to go, and oftentimes they get into trouble that they otherwise probably wouldn't if they had a safe place to go where they could hang out and just be kids. I think that would be a really good use of that center school.
Susan, what do you think the town should do with the center school?
I think Ashley has an excellent idea. Kids that are hanging out on the streets, or can't really consider Hopkinton hanging out on the streets as you would in other places. A community center where the students could go would be a particularly great thing. It would also allow for some of those services to be available to students that I referenced before. The kid who feels left out, the kid who maybe needs a little extra help in math, and tutors could be available there. Hopkinton's all about volunteering, and it would be a great place for people to go and help. I know I would be more than happy to go and help a student in that case. I miss teaching more than anything in my life.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to the next question. Is there any particular article at the upcoming annual town meeting or a town election ballot question that you feel strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please. And we'll start with Ashley.
I wish I had the articles in front of me because I don't remember the exact numbers for the, but I have been in, I will say that I am still currently learning about a lot of the articles, but I do think the one about the trail going through Hayden Row is of particular importance to me. I think I have a lot of neighbors that are really concerned about that. And so that I am continuing to do my research and talk to stakeholders, but I am concerned about that article.
Okay. Same question for Susan. Is there any particular article at the upcoming annual town meeting or a town election ballot question that you feel strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please.
I think I am most intrigued by the article, the ballot question about dissolving the current Upper Charles Trail. Being a new resident, I don't know enough about it, but I have a sense that it could be an extremely divisive discussion within the community. I am anxious. This is my first town meeting since I'm new here, and the first time I've been able to experience direct democracy as it was envisioned by our founding fathers. So I'm just excited to go and hear what everybody has to say. But this trail question, not the Hayden Row so much as trying to get rid of a group of people who have been working on that committee for so long and know so much, to kind of dissolve them and put new people in place.
Okay. All right, Peter, Adam, did you have something you want to say? No, okay. Adam, same question. Is there any particular article at the upcoming annual town meeting or a town election ballot question that you feel strongly about? And if so, what article, question, or topic and why? Pick just one article, ballot question, or topic, please.
Perfect. I'm sad that I could only pick one. The information that I have, that I understand, is about Article 15. This talks about sidewalks and making the loops and interconnecting the sidewalks. I think because we are experiencing growth in Hopkinton and we are concerned about the safety of our children being able to get to these schools if they're together or if they're dispersed, we need safe ways for our kids to get there. And this speaks to that, but it also speaks to the sense of community as well. So, I think Article 15 for me is an important one.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
So you mentioned growth, Adam, and at this point, the biggest source of growth in the town in the last 10 years was the addition of Legacy Farms, which was about 900 homes. And obviously the schools saw a great, an impact from that in terms of enrollment. But at this point, just because there isn't enough land, we're unlikely to see another Legacy Farms in the next 10 years, or ever potentially in Hopkinton. So are we at risk of overbuilding the schools? Or do you feel that the capacity that we're building for is appropriate? First to you, Susan.
Massachusetts, until extremely recently, only allowed the schools, when they approved their plans, only allowed them to project the population based on what was current. Recently, Massachusetts now allows the school to project 5 years out. In projecting 5 years out, the demographics that the state uses for those decisions generally runs far behind from what professional demographers have used and what has been historically seen in the growth. I trust that Hopkinton will build schools in accordance to that and should be able to project well. The only thing I would ever see to occur would never occur here in Hopkinton that I know of. I know that in the Pennsylvania community where I grew up, we had a steel factory, we produced Pullman cars, the schools were huge. My graduating class was almost 1,000. Now, they have schools that are empty and they're selling them. I don't see that happening at all in Hopkinton.
So just to be clear, do you believe that we are building to the correct capacity today?
Pretty close, yeah.
Thank you. Adam, the question is, are we at risk of overbuilding the schools, or do you feel that the capacity is appropriate?
So first, I do not think that we are overbuilding. I think, if anything, we are underbuilding. Our growth in the town has grown. Just the superintendent's report last night shows it's not month by month or year by year. We're talking week by week that our student population is growing. And we need to make sure that we are ahead of that curve. It's bad practice to try to play catch up. We need to be able to stay on track with what the data is telling us we need.
Do you have any, as a follow-up question, do you have any speculation as to why it grows week by week?
Yeah, people want to live in Hopkinton. I am not an original town member. My wife, her parents, her family's been in the town for generations. I am thrilled to have had the opportunity to come to Hopkinton 14, 15 years ago now. It's been a welcoming community. I think it's a rich community that, and I say rich in that there's a lot of culture. We do need to work on our diversity, but I think that, Hopkinton is a wonderful town to want to raise a family. So I think that, being smart about the way that we grow, and it's not just the schools, it's the roads, it's all the rest of the infrastructure. But as far as the schools go, we need to let's look at the data. It doesn't lie.
Ashley, same question. Are we at risk of overbuilding, or is the capacity planning appropriate?
Yeah, so I agree a lot with what Adam just said. I think that we're probably underbuilding. I think that anytime the superintendent does a report that what they projected, we're actually above, and we continue to be above and continue to be above. Through my volunteer roles through the PTO, through being a room parent, through being an appreciation coordinator, and also through substitute teaching, in the schools, I've actually witnessed firsthand how crowded the schools currently are right now. And I commend the teachers. They have gotten so creative with the space, and they have made it, the kids don't even realize that it's crowded because the teachers are so creative and the admins are so flexible with space. But I mean, art on a cart at Marathon has just become a normal place because they don't have an art room anymore. And preschool rooms, and teacher staff rooms are being converted to preschool rooms. There's just really no space. And we just built that school a few years ago. My son's in 4th grade and he was in there for kindergarten and he was the first year. So yes, I think we are completely, there's no way we are under.
Yes, Susan?
I just want to say, I come back to the change in the law. Marathon came as a result of them only being allowed to build to the number. And that's what happens, which is really good that they've now changed that.
Thank you. Tom?
Okay. All right, next question is, if you are elected to the school committee, can you explain how feedback from parents or guardians of students will weigh on your decisions? Adam, we'll start with you.
Sure. I think openness, transparency, and communications. Those are two things that I mentioned earlier about my strengths. And it's that willingness to listen. I don't own the school system. I'm there as a representative of the people that put me there. So it's imperative that I'm listening to them and bringing that voice into the conversation. As a parent of a child that needed additional resources, a lot of times these voices are never heard. The voices of the underserved, the ones that are on the edge. And, me being elected to the school board is an opportunity to bring that voice. And I can certainly tell you that I will be that voice.
Okay. Ashley, same question. If you are elected to the school committee, can you explain how feedback from parents or guardians of students will weigh on your decisions?
So I think it'll weigh extremely heavily, right? Because that's why we're here. Like Adam said, we're representatives of the community. We're to do what's best for students, for all students, especially if somebody is reaching out to the school committee. They're probably having an issue that they want to be heard or listened to. So I think that absolutely that I promise to listen to everybody and to all sides and to make informed decisions based on those community members. Because at the end of the day, we're all neighbors, we're all Hopkinton, we're all here to work together to do what's best for our students.
All right. Susan, same question. If you are elected to the school committee, can you explain how feedback from parents or guardians of students will weigh on your decisions?
To piggyback on Ashley's answer, I believe if a parent is coming to you with a problem, my suspicion is that they have exhausted every other avenue, or it is a large enough problem that they believe it needs to come to the top quickly. As an elected official, it's your mandate to listen to people, actively listen to them, find out, ask questions, so that you get the entire picture and then bring it back to the committee, as Holly Moran was speaking about the other night at school committee, the number of parents who have come to talk to her about things that are bullying but do not comply to the narrow legal definition of bullying. And I would always be open and welcome to talk to parents. They're a font of knowledge.
Only 33% of households in Hopkinton have a student in the public schools. When you combine the operating expenses and the debt service, 72% of the town's budget goes to schools. So for the 2/3 of residents without kids in school, what do you say to them to justify their continued investment? Ashley, you first.
So I think it's no secret that people move to Hopkinton for the schools. Hopkinton has, a stellar reputation of consistently being in the top tier of schools. And so I think that absolutely has an effect on our real estate prices for homes, our value of our town, safety of our town. So I think that the schools are really paramount to keeping our community the way it is. Moving here in 1990 with my family, I've actually seen the growth of when the schools weren't great. When I was here, it was Center School, Elmwood, and the middle school was the high school and the middle school together. And the schools weren't great. People were school choicing to Holliston right and left. And then the commuter rail came in Southborough, and EMC came in, and all these people, really professionals moved in, and the schools improved, and people really put effort into school. So I think the school is vitally important for our town.
Susan.
Once again, I reference my experience living in Pennsylvania. I have seen that issue discussed ad nauseum in letters to the editor at home. Yes, you're paying for other kids' children to go to school. My first response is always, did you have children? Did they go through the school? Therefore, other people were funding your children when they went. My second answer is, without an educated population, we are nothing. John Adams had the foresight in writing the first Constitution of the United States for Massachusetts to put in there, communities will provide free public education. If we do not have an educated population, our democracy dies.
Thank you. Same question for you, Adam.
Sure, Troy. And wonderful points from both candidates so far. With those kind of numbers, the 33% that have students, I'm one of those people. What I would say, I recall when my in-laws were still alive, other things, I don't have children in the system, but you did have children in the system. What we're doing now is we're making an investment in not only the future of these families and these children, but we're making an investment in the town of Hopkinton. By investing and putting the capital needs to support our students, we're making it better for everybody. Like everyone else, I cringe when I open my tax bill, so I get it. But I think it's a worthwhile investment.
Moving on, Ashley, you referenced our high ranking. And Susan, this question is going to go to you first.
Okay.
Hopkinton ranks number 286 in the Commonwealth in per pupil spending at $15,870 per student. Yet, it consistently ranks near the top of the best public school systems in Massachusetts. How do you explain this?
First thing I would look at, that Hopkinton has selected outstanding committee members who are wise decision makers. The other, and also all things flow from the committee. They have hired the best superintendents. They have hired the best assistants. They have hired, and those people in turn recommend for hiring the best educators that they can find. It means that not only are the programs successful, it indicates that they have hired people who are truly invested in the students and moving them to the top of their potential. It's not necessarily the bricks and the mortar. It's the people inside. And obviously, Hopkinton has hired the best that they can find.
Adam, number 286 in per pupil spending, yet at the top of the list when it comes to performance. How do you explain this?
Sure. I agree with much of what Susan promoted here. It's really about, as an educator, it's more than just dollars and cents. There's that commitment to the communities. There's that genuine connection to the students. As a teacher myself, I am amazed at sometimes the comments that students will make about how the teachers care for them, how they and we teachers don't even realize that when they're going through it. The students love the teachers, and it's those opportunities that present themselves not just in a big picture, but even at a micro level. It's that genuine love for our students that helps to support it. We need to make sure that we're putting in strategies to sort of enrich and maintain that environment to keep those and attract new faculty as older ones leave the system.
Ashley, finally to you, number 286 in spending, but at the top of the list. How do you explain that?
Yeah, so I echo a lot of what the other candidates said about just really hiring good educators, good administrators, people that are really creative and want to be there. I think the fact that we are a top-tier school attracts some of the best people for the job, and I think they've done a really good job. I do, though, think that it's important to point out that while our school currently spends 20% less than the average school in the state, but we're actually 30% less than the top 20, that gap really isn't going to be sustainable, and that our schools are going to be affected if we don't bridge that gap. I know that the school budget doesn't live in a vacuum. However, we need to do better of budget planning town-wide so that we continue to fund our schools in the way that they need to be funded.
Yes, Susan.
I just want to say you're absolutely on point, Ashley, that it's not sustainable. I am sure you have people working with limited resources, but the educators make that so. But no, it's not sustainable.
Thank you.
If I might just chime in there as well. Great point for both of the candidates. Talking about sustainability, the gap that we closed, that we had for this year's budget that was just approved, we had a bit large pool of money that was appropriated from the stabilization fund. And again, that you can borrow all the money that you want. You can get it from different resources, but you need to be very methodical and thoughtful in how you plan for that future. You can't just have the coin jar in the corner that if you need money, you just take it from the coin jar.
Absolutely. Well said, Adam.
All right, I think we're ready to move on. All right, we have one final question. It's a yes or no question, and it may be the most important question in the debate. Do you think the Boston Bruins will win the Stanley Cup? Yes or no? Adam, we'll start with you.
Slam dunk, baby.
Ashley.
I'm a basketball person, so I don't know a ton about hockey, but I always say go Bruins.
All right, how about the Celtics?
Yes.
Susan.
I don't care. It's Pittsburgh Penguins all the way.
All right. Well, I want to thank the three of you for participating this evening, and we will now go to closing statements. We'll start with Ashley. You may deliver your closing statement.
I'm here because I deeply care about the schools and the students who populate them. Running for public office is not for the faint of heart. Running last year was an incredibly difficult experience. While my passion and engagement has not wavered in the last year, I had not planned on running for school committee this year until I was approached by two sitting school committee members. Their encouragement led me to believe that my voice would be a valuable addition to our town discourse. I still believe that is true. I have run both of my campaigns as an independent. I have not sought the support of any political party on the right or left. And those closest to my campaign can attest that I've been under near constant attack, specifically in the last 24 hours. I have been publicly accused of being homophobic, transphobic, and racist. Let me be ultra clear to everyone. I love all of your kids. I love your gay kids. I love your trans kids. I love your non-binary kids. Your black kids, your white kids, your South Asian kids, your jocks, your bang kids, and your math kids. And anyone saying anything to the contrary is trying to smear my name and my reputation. I have total respect for all parents to raise and support their kids how they think is best. I think all kids are worthy of love and respect, and no matter how a child identifies, that they should have access to a first-rate education and safety at school. If elected, I promise to love all Hopkinton kids and to work to represent all voices. At the end of the day, we are all neighbors, and we are all Hopkinton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Susan, you may deliver your closing statement.
Ashley, I'm sorry if anyone's attacking you. I do not believe any of those things about you either.
Thank you.
I have heard you speak. I would have never in my life thought that you were any of those things. Education is the most important gift you give a person. Not necessarily the education, but is the love of learning which must be engendered. That is the thing that most inspired me about teaching. I do see that the major overarching decisions in education come from an outstanding superintendent, an innovative superintendent, and those under her, that are brought to the board, and the board then can decide, is that the direction? Is this the direction? They will then mold what the system will look like, what will be done in the classrooms. it is important for board members to consider dollars and cents. Not necessarily frugality. How are we using our funds in the best way possible? Everything that happens within a school, whether it is that child who is crying in the bathroom stall for some reason, or if it's a discussion in a classroom that the teacher was unable to control. Those things eventually come to the feet of the school committee, whether it is investigating in terms of finding out more information, or if they have learned about it from an alternate source, is bringing it back to the superintendent and saying, we need to investigate this and we need to determine if it's a problem. Sometimes you have employees who go awry, and those are the people that a person might call a board member about. I ask that for your vote on May 15th. I believe I'm an outstanding candidate given my educational background, my own personal love of learning, my love of my students that I've had in the years past, my love of interacting with students. I also would like to thank HCAM and the HOP Independent for sponsoring this debate.
That's Hop,
And I've had a good time.
Hop News.
HOP News, sorry. Mea culpa.
All right, Adam, you may deliver your closing statement.
Sure, thank you so much. Again, I'd like to, thank Hop News for sponsoring this debate, and particularly Tom and Peter. Thank you so much for great moderation. Guests that are here in the audience, and for those that are viewing at home, thank you for taking your time to spend with us and hear what we want to bring to the table. Many of you know, I've read through some of my statements about my sort of humble beginnings. In a nutshell, I come from an much undereducated family, and I remember my mom standing over me night after night, hand in hand, helping me to do homework, because she knew that the key to a way out of the life that we had was through education. And that's through her encouragement, my family's encouragement, that's put me on the pathway where I am today. I've graduated from nursing school, have my bachelor's, my master's degree in nursing education, currently working on my PhD in nursing education. So, I get